Imagine this: an American infantryman, 1967, somewhere near the demilitarized zone. He's just fought off an attack. Spent casings are everywhere, smoke lingers, and there's a tense silence. In his hands, he's not holding the M16 he was issued back at base. He's holding a completely different rifle, a captured one with a chipped stock, scratched up, but painfully familiar to every enemy fighter. It's an AK-47, and our soldier grips it like it's his only ticket out of this place. Why would an American serviceman, risking being shot by his own side because of the different sound of its fire, pick up an enemy's weapon? Today, we're going to reveal the real reason American forces in Vietnam widely used the AK-47. And believe me, it's not about spy thriller intrigue or a love of exotica. It's about pure, unadulterated survival. When the first American units encountered the AK-47 in the jungle, they quickly realized one unpleasant truth: this rifle works where their own weapon often failed. The M16 was just being introduced to the troops, and its early versions suffered from issues with gunpowder and non-chromed chambers. But the AK, crude, stamped, with huge gaps between its parts that you could seemingly stick your finger into, ran like a Swiss watch. It would lie in the mud, get drenched by tropical downpours, get covered in sand and grime. But when a scared young soldier picked it up, it just fired. Every time. Soldiers saw what happened to the M16 in a critical moment, and they made a choice for reliability. On the black market in Saigon, a captured Kalashnikov commanded serious money. The price could reach $1,000 per weapon, sometimes more. That's when a private's salary was incomparably smaller. Demand was driven by supply, and supply was dictated by stark necessity. Soldiers would buy AKs from locals, pick them up from recent skirmish sites, trade them for rations and cigarettes. This wasn't just a souvenir. It was a tool they trusted. Why was the AK-47 so ideally suited for the conditions in Vietnam? Its designer, Mikhail Kalashnikov, created his weapon for entirely different circumstances. He thought about a rifle that had to work in the hands of a soldier who might not be able to clean it often, in mud, cold, dust. He couldn't have imagined his creation would end up in the tropics, but the paradox is that the tropics demand the same thing. A weapon must be undemanding and forgiving of mistakes. The AK forgave everything. It had generous tolerances, its moving parts wouldn't jam up with sand, and its 7.62 by 39mm round had excellent stopping power. In the jungle, where the enemy would appear for a second and then vanish, it wasn't just about hitting them, but about reliably putting them out of action. The AK's round would smash through small trees, punch through underbrush, and do its job effectively. An interesting fact that's rarely discussed: American Special Operations units, like the Green Berets and Navy SEALs, quickly came to appreciate the AK. For them, it wasn't just a trophy, but an element of camouflage. Imagine a reconnaissance team going deep behind enemy lines. If they get into a firefight with their M16s, the enemy would instantly know it's Americans. The distinctive sound would give them away from a mile off. But if they're firing AKs, there's a much better chance the enemy will mistake them for their own. So the special ops guys would collect captured rifles, meticulously clean them, zero them, and take them on missions. For them, the AK wasn't just a weapon, it was a tool that allowed them to stay unnoticed and deceive the enemy. But there were also those who rejected the M16 on principle. Some sergeants, veterans of many patrols, would teach their green recruits, as soon as you hit the ground, keep an eye out for an AK. It might save your hide. And they were right. In documentary footage from those years, you can find images of American soldiers posing with captured rifles. And it's not just bravado. It's a symbol that they found a weapon they could trust. One veteran recalled how his platoon got into a tough spot, and 3 guys had problems with their M16s. They got through it only because they had 2 AKs with them, picked up earlier. Those rifles worked without a hitch. Speaking of sound, the AK-47 fires with a distinctive low-pitched chatter that's impossible to mistake for the pop of an M16. Sound travels strangely in the jungle, and experienced fighters on both sides learned to distinguish who was fighting whom. When Americans started firing AKs, it created confusion in enemy ranks. Enemy fighters couldn't understand why their own weapons were firing on them. This psychological effect also worked in their favor, adding chaos and making the enemy hesitate. But there was a downside. A soldier carrying an AK into battle could be mistaken for the enemy by his own comrades. At night, in thick brush where visibility is nearly zero, a silhouette with an AK is a potential target. So troops devised ways to stand out. They'd tie colored strips of cloth to their rifles, mark the stocks, do anything to visually distinguish themselves from the enemy. But the risk remained, and yet they took that risk, because it's better to risk being identified by your own side than to be left with a piece of equipment that failed you at the decisive moment. The AK-47 in Vietnam became more than just a firearm. It became a symbol of reliability and survival. Soldiers on both sides of the conflict agreed on one thing: this rifle works. The enemy, who used it as their primary weapon, believed in it unconditionally. The Americans, who had the chance to compare, also developed deep respect for it. And that respect wasn't born from propaganda, but from the harsh experience of the jungle. There was another important aspect rarely mentioned. AK ammunition was everywhere. Enemy fighters carried it in their pouches, stored it in caches, left it on trails. If an American patrol ran out of their own ammo, they could resupply on the spot by picking up rounds from recent engagement areas. It was a grim but effective form of logistics. That wouldn't work with an M16. NATO ammunition was scarce on the enemy's side. The ability to replenish your ammo right there in the jungle meant a patrol could stay in the field longer and had a better chance of making it back. By the end of the war, U.S. command officially authorized the use of captured weapons in certain situations. They didn't broadcast it widely, of course, but in reconnaissance units, in long-range patrol groups, the AK became almost standard issue. They trusted it more than their own rifles. It was a serious indictment of American weapons design, but it was reality dictated by conditions on the ground. It's interesting how the attitude towards the AK in Vietnam shaped a whole generation of soldiers who, after the war, continued to regard this rifle as the benchmark of reliability. Many veterans back home fondly remembered those captured specimens, not their issued weapons. They'd tell stories of how an AK could lie in a swamp, then be picked up, shaken off, and be ready to fire immediately. These tales were passed around, gathering details, but the core remained the same. This weapon never let you down. There were even curious cases. Some soldiers became so accustomed to the AK that they tried to modify it for their own needs. Some would fashion homemade stocks. Others would paint the receivers, trying to make the rifle more comfortable. But at its heart was always that Kalashnikov design, which proved so successful it would outlast many more conflicts. When you look today at an AK-47, covered in scratches and dents, brought back from Vietnam by a veteran as a trophy, you understand. This rifle has seen a lot. It lay in rice paddies, got covered in sand, had insects crawling over it, and it can still function. That's its greatness. For the American soldier in that war, the AK wasn't just an enemy weapon. It was an unexpected solution to a problem they faced. A dark, captured solution, but one that didn't fail when it mattered most. In the end, the paradox of the Vietnam War is that the best weapon for an American soldier often wasn't American. The AK-47 went through the jungles, through mud and water, through the hands of tens of thousands of fighters on both sides of the conflict, and emerged with an impeccable reputation. The reputation of a weapon that does exactly what you expect it to do, no matter whose hands it's in. Now let's dig deeper and examine exactly how the AK-47 earned such a reputation in conditions it was never designed for. The secret lies in the ingenious simplicity of its design. Kalashnikov created a rifle that can be field-stripped and reassembled blindfolded, one with virtually nothing to break. In Vietnam, this quality was priceless. Soldiers would spend days on patrol, under tropical downpours, crawling through rice paddies knee-deep in water and mud. The M16 demanded perfect cleanliness, daily lubrication, and careful handling. With the AK, you could just wipe off the mud, and it kept working. Veterans recalled that even if sand got into the mechanism, a couple of vigorous pulls on the bolt handle would usually clear it, and the rifle was ready to go again. With the M16, sand often meant a complete disassembly was needed to get it running. In the middle of an ambush, those minutes were everything. Another often overlooked detail is the AK's magazines. They were steel, robust. You could bend, dent, or drop them, and they'd still feed rounds. Early M16 magazines were lightweight aluminum and easily deformed from a simple drop. A bent magazine meant stoppages or a complete inability to fire. Soldiers quickly learned that captured AK magazines could be carried for years and never let them